Go ahead.
So the Vulnerable Child Project is an 11-week curriculum, 11-week of resources training that wraps spiritual emotional care around at-risk families. Families that have been made vulnerable by a child in need. And a child can be made vulnerable for a number of reasons. A child in the system, or foster children, are a clear example of that, or children that have been adopted into loving homes, and yet they have their first primary attachments that have been broken. Those have been severed or disrupted in some ways. That creates changes for that child that are sometimes confusing for parents to understand. And what is a clear gap within our communities, whether we're looking at our, our communities within the city or our communities of faith, are on one side we have lovely, beautiful, well-trained professionals that are offering clinical care, psychologists, counselors, social workers. We have medical care teams that are excellent, and even many of us are blessed enough to live in states that provide for extra care financially around the needs, the medical needs of the child. But the clear gap for these children and their parents and families are within the community, because the vulnerability itself within a family, when a child is suffering or in distress, it creates distress for the siblings, and it creates a lot of special needs for the parents. And that whole dynamic begins to isolate parents and a family from the normal connected community that they would be able to have accessed before. So the family becomes more isolated, they are less understood, and then our material that talks about parenting practices and different things that, other resources that families can access for a family and for parents that are caring for a vulnerable child or an abused child, often those techniques don't work. They don't address the heart needs of a child in pain. And so Mending the Soul has created a model that wraps the Mending the Soul process around not just these children, but their parents, caregivers, birth parents too, and the siblings within the family unit. And we've just finished a pilot that has been so very exciting, because we believe as a ministry we are getting ahead of the problem. So we are able to not just wrap support in the present around these families, but we are also beginning a 2-generation healing pathway, so that the parents are looking back at what they've experienced in primary trauma, their adverse childhood experiences, and they're being able to be guided in a pathway that helps them reflect upon the parenting they received, and then helps them to be more thoughtful and informed when they look at and self-assess their own parenting, the strengths, weaknesses, as they're caring for a child that him or herself is carrying primary trauma. So we feel that the project is offering a lot of care that then can be extended into the future for these families, so they are able to walk from a place of isolation, confusion, discouragement, hopelessness, to a place of connection and intimacy and support, love and care. It's one of the most exciting projects we've ever been involved in, and we want you to join us.